Ready? I hereby call this special session of the Milwaukee City Council to order. First item is the Letting Library Improvement Project Guaranteed Price, Maximum Price Resolution.
Is there more than one item? No. Okay, just checking.
No, you never know. This will be presented by Layla.
Hi, well, good evening, Mayor, Councilors. Layla Aman, Development Manager for the City of Milwaukee. So I'm before you today to recommend approval of a resolution to execute Change Order 01 to Swinnerton's Construction Management General Contractor contract, which will establish a guaranteed maximum price, a GMP, in the amount of $8.116 million for the Letting Library Improvement Project. The GMP is inclusive of Change Order 00, which was executed on October 1st in 2018 by the city manager, which authorized Swinnerton builders to perform abatement, demolition, and early site work on the site. This resolution further authorizes the city manager to expend up to $545,000 in project contingency should it be required, and brings the total authorization we're asking for tonight to $8.664 million. The GMP represents a significant achievement and a monumental effort made by the city and the design team. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank the library team led by Katie Newell, our library director, our Swinnerton, our CMGC, and Hacker Architects. I also want to take a moment to introduce Sue, who is not yet here, but when she arrives, I will introduce her as our new owner's representative. Sue was selected through a competitive RFP process to be our owner's rep and hit the ground running with us in October and has been just an incredible asset to this team. And so I'm very grateful for her contributions. So this is an important milestone for the city, and it represents a culmination over 2 years of concerted effort, dedication and hard work by the construction project team, as well as the Library Construction Task Force. And a few highlights of the project I would like to mention. First is that we did not compromise on any energy efficiency measures in this building. The GMP includes the 1.5% for solar. We have designed a powerful and efficient system that will produce 40 kilowatts. We have also brought in the rebuilding center before we demolished the building, and to salvage material from the original house, including the paneling, the woodwork, the doors, and some key elements that we hope to use as part of our state historic preservation mitigation. We also intentionally and carefully removed the 2 copper beech trees that were on the south of the building. And we contracted with the local business, Milwaukee Hardwoods, to take that material. They'll be drying it for us and milling it as well. And we really hope to be able to use elements of that resource in the building itself. And we'll start working with the design team and our project artists to see ways we can incorporate that copper beech back into the project. So it's really pretty exciting. So authorizing this resolution will deliver on basically a 20-year vision, making all made possible by the dedicated efforts of our community members, our elected leaders, the library friends and the board and the foundation, our city administration and staff. So it's a privilege for me to be here tonight and to be part of this team that has worked so hard to bring us to this point. So it's without reservation that I recommend that you approve this resolution and authorize the city manager to execute Change Order 01 to establish a GMP with Swinnerton Builders and continue moving forward with the construction of the Letting Library.
Questions?
Not about the project authorization, but with respect to coming in and taking some paneling or whatever we could potentially use in the future, did anything go to the Milwaukee Historical Museum as well, or was there anything that worked for that?
We didn't give anything specifically yet to the museum. We did retain a few elements. So we retained the banister. There was a mirror and some windows that we've held on to that we wanted to have available to our project artist should he want to include elements of that in the project.
Okay.
Anything left over, we can work with the Historic Milwaukee.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And Councilor Adma, there is also a requirement that we will be fulfilling for SHPO that has a historic story associated with the past building in the new building. So Layla's been working with our design team to create that component of the building. So there will be a story connecting the
Great.
past and future.
Yeah.
And was there a video or something that had to be done for SHPO?
Yeah, there's several requirements. We have to do some documentation. We need to do some sort of interpretive display. So that's the piece that Ann just mentioned. Video will be archived as part of that as well. Those are the three key pieces of our mitigation.
So I had just some questions from the document, which is a lot of, construction Greek to me. But what's AWP?
Acoustic wall paneling.
Ah,
I had to look up the same thing, and it is in there. If you search for AWP, you find.
Yeah, I gave up and called her.
I have a key of acronyms, so
and so there's a list of alternates, which I guess are the things we would like to add in if money allows at the end. So if they're not on that list, they're not going to happen, even if we suddenly had a windfall of money.
there's certainly would be implications. So we could initiate change orders if there are additional things that we would like to add back into the building. It obviously depends on what those things are, but there is potential for that. The alternates are things that the construction team priced, and so that's why they're included there.
And if we do add those new components back in, we've had several conversations about the price of change orders going into that. If it's something that's on that list, it's basically the same markup price. If it's something that we add that's new, you can see 11 to 15% markups on those items because they have to go back and redesign components of it. And so they do a larger markup on those items.
So in that same list, it's funny that that's what caught all of our attention. Emergency responder radio system for $43,000. I'm dying to know what that is.
Well, we had that priced for the police department. So these are systems by which we could add into the project that would be for emergency response, radio boosters, things of that nature. So we'll talk to the police department about those, and if those are an element that we want to add into the project, we can.
So what we found, if any of you have been over to the beer store or Rice Thai or any of those restaurants, you'll notice that a lot of cell phones have a hard time working. It's really hard to receive signals in and out of there, and if you have a number of officers who are on radios, they need to be able to be in constant contact. So some of the larger buildings that we have right now, including Axle Tree, we're talking about how do we make sure that there's first responder access during that kind of situation, and that sometimes requires additional equipment. So that's what that is.
So it's additional equipment to make sure there's connectivity in the library, or to make sure to
In the
enhance
area, boost the area.
connectivity elsewhere in the area?
It would be actually for the building. So if they report to an incident in the building, they need to make sure that their radios work. And so we wanted to make sure that all the access points are in the building as needed.
Is that also considered maybe an emergency preparedness potential upgrade for? I mean, this is one of very few buildings that will actually still be standing. Is that an element to?
That's why we wanted to price it and include it
Okay.
as an alternate.
Okay.
I'm sure there were lots of things that were hard to give up in cutting back. And, one that caught my eye was skylights. I was like, oh, yeah, skylight. It's going to be dark on this side of the...
While you guys are in this moment of thinking if there's anything else you want to say, and I do know that there are things we lost in this. I think that always happens. I do want to call out one person who's sitting in front of you who has done a yeoman's job of negotiating this contract price down, so we're this close. So we're within $53,000 of where we expected to be. That's actually pretty substantial and incredible. It's not where we started 2 weeks ago. So I really appreciate how hard those decisions have been and how much effort has been put in by the team in order to get us there. And since she can't do it for herself, I really appreciate that Layla did it. So thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Layla.
Team effort. Thank you.
I don't have any more questions.
I don't either.
I don't have a question, but I guess I just have a comment. I saw the sort of disclaimer language from Swinnerton about the trees, and I read that with great dismay. Because when we came, like a year ago, I don't know, even know, remember how long ago it is, but when we came with the design that gave us a big one-story footprint as opposed to a two-story library, we were assured that the trees were going to be okay. And I hope the trees are going to be okay.
And I have heard you, and I think that the current fencing shows how seriously we have taken that from council to try and do what we can in order to protect those trees. But I have purposefully and can never say with guarantee.
Yeah, and I mean, are you talking about Swinnerton is not responsible for and cannot address concealed or undisclosed conditions relative to the trees and their health and any
Right.
resultant failures? I mean, we can't possibly hold them responsible for the fact that a
No.
75-year-old tree is sick and falls over.
Right.
Right, like the tree that just coincidentally fell down a week
Was sick.
before we started construction. If you looked at the root system, it was completely rotted out.
Right.
And
It was
so
identified to be removed.
Obviously, it was
I
going to
would-
happen even if we hadn't touched the library.
Right. Yeah, it would have gone. I mean, it
So-
did go.
It went before we touched
did
the
it.
library.
Yeah, yeah.
There may
That's
be
true, it did.
some of those other
Saved us
trees.
some money,
It did,
actually.
just so everyone's clear.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it
Awfully
was
close for an oak
nothing to
tree.
do with the construction. I will add, though, Counselor Beatty, that we do have a master arborist who will be overseeing excavation and paying close attention to that as we go through that part of the project.
Well, it's exciting to see it finally. Does this mean tomorrow they're going to start working?
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can issue a notice to proceed tomorrow.
She's ready for me to sign it.
I'm ready. Yes.
Well, then I'll move to approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a change order establishing a guaranteed maximum price with Swinnerton Builders for the Letting Library Improvement Project.
A second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a change order establishing a guaranteed maximum price with Swinnerton Builders for the Letting Library Improvement Project. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. It passes unanimously. And I believe that is all we have for this meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Okay?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to
Thank
adjourn. All those
you.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
We are adjourned.
Two.
Thank you all.